A laugher in the snow in Buffalo, week 13. The Niners never stood a chance, blown out by the Buffalo Bills. What's next? What does this mean for the San Francisco 49ers? And injuries on top of insult in week 13. Coming at you right now.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We love and appreciate all of our everydayers out there and all the new listeners as well. Welcome. And hope you stick with us and hang out through the rest of the season and the offseason. Offseason might start early for the San Francisco 49ers this year. And we appreciate you. Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On NFL for $20 off your first ticket purchase. All right, Croc, 35-10, the final as the San Francisco 49ers lose in a snow game to the Buffalo Bills. I first want to say, because I think some people say, oh, it's uneven, it's weird, don't like the snow, don't like quirky stuff in the football game. I'm on the opposite side of this. I know the 49ers lost this game, and it didn't work out for them, but ban domes. I love snow. I love weather. This is football. And I have no problem with the weather, and it made me feel, look, it's not even that cold. I'm in the 415 right now, but I wanted to wear a little bit bigger coat tonight just because I felt like, oh, look chilly on TV. Maybe it's chilly outside. It's not that chilly outside. It's 65 degrees every day in San Francisco. But the Christmas lights are up. It's December, and the San Francisco 49ers season hasn't ended in December in a long time, but it's feeling closer to the end than it ever has. And we talked a little bit about this off the air, Croc. I was not confident going into this game against the Buffalo Bills, but when you watch it play out, it feels different, even if you think the 49ers are probably going to lose a game like this.
I was very disappointed with the 49ers, and anyone who, listened to the crossover episode, really kind of listened to our tones leading up to this game, didn't have a whole lot of confidence in the 49ers being able to go to Buffalo and win this game. I felt like that's why last week against Green Bay was a must-win game. Got to win this game because I am not expecting a win heading to Buffalo. And then you look at the weather leading up to the game, the stadium covered in snow. I've watched Brock Purdy a lot in the inclement weather, and I don't think he's the best suited to play in that kind of weather. So I didn't have any high expectations, but I walked away from this game, and not even just this game, I'd say the last two games, really just disappointed in the 49ers and the way that they're conducting themselves on the field. It's one thing to lose a game that Croc and Peacock are kind of expecting you to lose or don't think you have the best chance to win, but to look like a total incompetent team in back-to-back weeks. And I get it. Last week you had your backup quarterback playing. I like some of the comments from the Packers fans. Like, dude, we played with Malik Willis in one games, right? 49ers have more guys out than just the starting last week, but 2 weeks in a row right now, we're watching a team that they look lifeless. And that's not something you expect to see from a Kyle Shanahan team. That's not something that we've seen from them. I mean, even you go back to 2017, and the 49ers at one point had broke a record for 5 straight losses by 3 or less points, right? Like that had never been done. That was a team that was fighting. They were undermanned, they were overmatched, but they were competing. And the team I've seen step on the field the last 2 weeks for the 49ers, they look like they're just over the season. And I think somebody needs to come out and apologize to the fans because, everybody watching this product, spending a bunch of money, flying to Green Bay, flying to Buffalo, 49er fan base travels extremely well. This is extremely it's very difficult to watch. I'm disappointed in this 49ers team.
Yeah, not even putting up a fight, right? And it really felt like, and I made a joke on Twitter as the game was happening. I said, hey, Croc, do you want to go live now after the Cook long touchdown? And then after that happened, Josh Allen throws a pass to Amari Cooper, who pitches it back to Josh Allen, and he scores a touchdown. It was like it was like the big brother against the little brother type of a game there. And it was almost laughable there. And I'm with you, because even though we thought the 49ers would probably lose this game, and, with all the injuries the 49ers have, and, guys like Fred Warner playing on a broken ankle, it's like, man, maybe dude should get that fixed. And, because, it's like, what are we doing right now? And then Christian McCaffrey's injury, more notes on that. And I'm just seeing something in the chat here from Kyle Shanahan, who was on the podium as we speak right now, with some updates on Christian McCaffrey and what that means for the San Francisco 49ers going forward. Even though we thought the Bills would win the game, and there's been times and we thought we picked the 49ers to lose a game, and the 49ers are favored a lot. We always think the 49ers are going to be competitive and win a game. Even though you think the Bills are probably in an advantageous position, probably going to win the game, you watch it play out, and it's just like, it is disappointing. And I can see why you feel that way, Croc, because the 49ers didn't put up much of a fight in this football game. It never felt like they had much of a chance. And just as the latest update here, and thanks to the chat here, apparently Christian McCaffrey could be out for the year with a knee injury, per Kyle Shanahan post game.
That's weird that it's his knee. Did you see the slow motion of the replay from the back view? It did the exploding Achilles thing where the whole calf shakes and then he went down. But yeah, they're saying it's a knee.
It's hard, because I would think that it's a better sign that it's not a torn Achilles. And I think ACLs are still easier to come back from torn Achilles. But if he tears his ACL, anytime it's a non-contact injury and a player goes down, that's usually a really bad sign. And you were pretty hopeful once he got up and kind of ran off the field and walked off under his own power. But whether it was an Achilles or an ACL or whatever it could potentially be, I have no idea. I'm just guessing it's a knee injury, and he was listed as questionable for the rest of the game. And obviously he didn't come back in the game. But if you rule him out right away and it's an Achilles, then it's like, oh man, he popped his Achilles. But if he didn't pop his Achilles and it's a knee injury, maybe that's a better sign, and he'll rest up and he'll be ready to go week 1, potentially next year. And then his Achilles will be in a better spot, and that'll be healed up at that point. I don't know. It's usually easier to come back from an ACL, to be honest with you, for a player that is trying to explode off of his lower body. It's usually a better return from an ACL right away than it is from an Achilles injury. But is it, but now do you have Achilles on top of ACL or whatever? I'm just saying ACL as a knee injury. I have no idea what it is, but it's a bad sign. Yeah. And Christian McCaffrey apparently could be done for the year with a knee injury now, after dealing with an Achilles injury for the last almost year.
I'm going to say something, and this is not to take a victory lap. I think you and I have both expressed how great, how important Christian McCaffrey has been to the 49ers offense. He's been amazing over this past, year and a half. But when the trade went down, I'll start with ESPN. They gave it a C- trade, right? And a lot of people are like, how do you give the Christian McCaffrey trade a C- grade? And when you start to kind of look into it, and you and I brought this perspective up because it was definitely our kind of viewpoint on the whole thing. You got a guy that's coming off of back-to-back seasons where he didn't play a whole lot. He was injured a lot. He was starting to enter kind of that age around 26, 27 years old as a running back, where things a lot of times start to decline a bit, especially if you're having these kind of injuries. And to give up a 2nd-round pick, 3rd-round pick, 4th-round pick, 5th-round pick at the time felt like that's kind of a lot for a guy who may only kind of get worse. And not to say that he can't be good. And again, he has been amazing when on the field. But to see this start to happen just a year and a half into the trade, I don't think we're surprised, because these are sometimes the things that happen with running backs. And a big part of the trade as well was the money he was going to be getting. So on top of him coming off of back-to-back seasons, being really hurt or missing a lot of those games, playing 5 games in each of those seasons or whatever it was, you're making him the highest paid running back in the league. And then you re-up on that this offseason, where you're paying him some more money, giving him a little bit of extra bread. And he comes in and he's only able to finish a couple of games before he's back, off. And you're talking about right now him getting ready for week 1 in 2015 season. I think it is just kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, and Mark in the chat says Madden curse. We went through this, remember, in the offseason, going through the Madden curse. You know what the Madden curse is? The Madden curse is the player the year before carried the ball the most times in the NFL. And that's what Christian McCaffrey was. And when you carry the ball the most times, you get tackled the most times, you get hurt the most times. And that's where we're at. And that's the whole thing with the running back thing. And there's no opportunity here to take victory laps on any of that. You're never you're never happy about injury. It's unfortunate that Christian McCaffrey got hurt, but you never build the team out of the running back. And that's kind of the whole point here. And you spend a lot on running backs in trade, and then you spend a lot in money on running backs, and then running backs get hurt. And I talked about this earlier in the week. It was like, well, the same fans who were talking about, hey, Peacock, you just said that you shouldn't trade for a running back. This is the greatest trade in NFL history, that the 49ers trade for Christian McCaffrey. You got to take the L on this. And then the same fans 6 months later are saying, why are you even playing Christian McCaffrey? Why are you giving the ball to Christian McCaffrey? You should give the ball to the undrafted running back in Jordan Mason, right? And that's sort of the world we live in with running backs. And that's why you'd never build it out of the running back. The running back is the icing on top. The 49ers built a thing that was awesome. They put the running back in. It's great. The Philadelphia Eagles build a thing. They put Saquon Barkley on top, and it's awesome. It's the icing, right? But you never build it around the running back, and the running back is never going to last a long time. And it's a lesson that we already knew. And I think it's just something that we had to go through and see again. And it's really unfortunate, and I hate it. And it was so fun to watch Christian McCaffrey in the 49ers offense. I don't know what Christian McCaffrey is going to be. I don't know if it's a PCL that we're seeing in the chat, an ACL, a knee, an Achilles, whatever it is for Christian McCaffrey. Hopefully he comes back as strong as he was before. But there's a reason why you don't build it out of the running back. What about the rest of the build? We're talking about one position right now. The 49ers running back position was not a problem. That's not the reason the 49ers lost this football game. Let's get into the rest of it. Niners lose 35-10 to the Buffalo Bills. What does it mean in week 13? What does it mean for the rest of the season for the San Francisco 49ers? Next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by a new sponsor, Ice Shaker. You still looking for that new gift for someone in your family, especially that San Francisco 49ers fan, or maybe they're a fan of another team. I don't know if you want to go this route and buy them something with a logo of another football team on it. And if you're like me, your holiday shopping is definitely not done, but it's a great weekend to get your shopping going. And if that's the case, I've got the perfect gift for the passionate sports fans in your life. Perhaps you've heard of Ice Shaker. Ice Shaker is now officially licensed with the NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA, Major League Baseball, and will make the ideal gift. Created by and used by the Gronkowski brothers, Ice Shakers has sold over 1 million bottles. They have changed the game with workout bottles, and this is the gift you've been looking for. Go to iceshaker.com and use our promo code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout to save 25% on your order. Croc, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't gotten mine, and I don't know if that's because you're in 209 and I'm in 415 and it's easier to get to your location, Croc, but he's got his Ice Shaker, his San Francisco 49ers. What's the scouting report on the Ice Shaker bottle, Croc?
So I'm glad to learn that it's a Gronkowski thing. They talked about working out, because I think this thing it's like a utility weapon. Like, not only my first thing was seeing it was, oh man, I have something to put some hot chocolate in. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I got something to put some hot coffee in or hot chocolate in there, when I'm out and about and I'm coaching and doing my thing. But I think you can use it for your protein shakes, and it has like this little thing right here where it'll kind of help blend up, whatever it is that you're trying to shake in here. I think if you're into making some alcoholic beverages, you can put that in here as well, shake it up real good, get that ice all crunched up. But I think I'm mostly impressed with just the design of everything. Having this handle here, I never thought like, oh, coffee mug have a handle, or hot chocolate mug, whatever you want to call it, has a handle on it. But man, this thing is pretty cool. And yeah, just the look, the design of it. And I told you, I was like, man, this is actually, I'm really impressed by this, because it's almost like everything's kind of embroidered into it. It's not just like this wrap that's on there. It's like nice embroidered, and you guys can't really see it, but look at that. 49ers faithful. It has all kind of flags and stuff. It really, I mean, I'm so excited that I got this in the mail today.
It was my idea about the alcohol thing, and Croc's like, I don't know. I thought it was maybe for protein shakes, but yeah, I guess it could be for alcoholic beverages as well. And guess what? Order your team branded bottles today at iceshaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for 25% off your order. Ice Shaker, show your support for your teams with the best branded workout bottles on the market. Ice Shakers. Today's episode also brought to you by BetterHelp Online Therapy. How do you stay cozy during the warm winter months? Maybe you put something hot in a mug, or for some, wrapping up in a blanket. Maybe you're watching a movie with the family. Maybe that's the best way to spend the month of December. Therapy is a great way to bring yourself some comfort that never goes away, even when the season changes. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. Fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist. Could not be easier. And you can find comfort in the month of September and beyond with BetterHelp. Just visit betterhelp.com/lockedon today. Get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, Croc. Wishing him the best for Christian McCaffrey in his return to the San Francisco 49ers. Can we talk about Brock Purdy? And was this a game that you saw Brock Purdy as a guy that maybe in inclement weather is not the same type of play? Look, Brock Purdy is not Josh Allen, and that's an unfair comparison. And I got to be honest, I've only met, I think, 2 or 3 people ever from the town of Firebaugh, which is not far from a town I grew up in Visalia, California. I didn't know too many people from Firebaugh, even when I was in Visalia. Firebaugh, a little closer to Fresno from where I grew up. But then when I was going to school in college, going up to Chico, there's some folks from Firebaugh. And then seeing Josh Allen, 6'5", I've never met Josh Allen, 6'5", 240. Everybody I've met from Firebaugh is big. Like they're large people, and they're like,
it's like a farm town, though, right?
Yeah, it's a farm town. They're substantial. Like they grow them strong in Firebaugh, and I think Brock's from Scottsdale. Maybe don't grow them quite as strong in Scottsdale. Brock Purdy's awesome. Been awesome for the San Francisco 49ers. This is nothing against Brock Purdy, but when you see a snow game like this, a bad weather game, there was one throw in particular, and it wasn't a big play in this game at all. But there was a play where the Bills were backed up. It was at the end of the first half, and Josh Allen's in the end zone. He's kind of just flat-footed and just he throws the ball to the tight end. And it's like, man, it was like, do you know the meme where there's the televangelist where he's like, I've seen, Lord, what you've done for them, and I want you to do the same for me. I see him make that throw, and I'm like, man, that'd be fun to have one of those guys. And do you remember back in 2020? Because I think this 49ers season, Croc, and this is where I'm going with this. You remember back in the 2020 season, the 49ers had a whole bunch of injuries and ended up with a pick in the top half of the first round. And I think Kyle Shanahan saw Josh Allen and said, Lord, I've seen what you've done for them. I want you to do the same for me. And they traded up to try to get their Josh Allen in the draft. Didn't work out with Trey Lance. Ended up really loving Brock Purdy, and he ended up being his guy at quarterback. But this 2024 season is starting to feel a lot like the 2020 season to me, where it's a lost season. There's too many injuries for the 49ers to overcome. And you play against a team like Josh Allen, again, just like they did in 2020. And it's almost like there's no competition. It's like the JV playing against the varsity. And that's what I was watching out there today, Croc.
Yeah, his ability to really just play in any type of weather. I think with Josh Allen, more than anything, he's kind of his own worst enemy at times. He just is bound to do some reckless type play and force what ends up being a turnover. This year, he's been very much better with that. I would say over the last, I want to say 5 games or 4 games, he threw 5 interceptions. But even getting some insight on his interceptions, they weren't the old reckless ones that he would have. These are ones that went off of a guy's shoulder pads, went through a guy's hands, and it ended up getting intercepted. So he's been taking care of the ball. So if you have a Josh Allen, a version of him taking care of the ball, not throwing the boneheaded interceptions that we're used to seeing him doing, and then now he continues to just be that physical specimen that he's always been, being able to throw in any type of weather, being able to run in any type of weather. He took on Campbell and took him for a ride a little bit. Then later we saw him scamper into the end zone and kind of shrug Fred Warner off of him. seeing him, it's a little unfair, but like I saw someone say in the chat, Josh Allen's, they're not in every draft. And I think everybody, or probably all but 3 or 4 teams, are wishing they had a guy like Josh Allen that can play and function in any type of weather. I don't think that is a strong suit of Brock Purdy. And Purdy does a lot of things very well for the 49ers. But playing in this type of weather, it hasn't been a strength of his. Even going back to the Green Bay Packer game in the playoffs, I mean, 90% of that game, he didn't play very well. And I think a lot of it had to do with some of the elements that the 49ers were dealing with. And luckily for us, he was able to pull that game out. But time and time again, I see a guy who just, the ball doesn't come out as well. There were some passes today that definitely got away from him. And we understand it, but it's like, does the small hands have something to do with it? Or what is it that starts to happen to where he's not the same version of Purdy that we're used to seeing?
And that's kind of it. Like Brock Purdy drops back, fumbles a ball where nobody touches him, and the ball flies out of his hand. And this is not a knock on Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is who he is. And then you see Josh Allen, who's deep in his own end zone, and boom, ball's coming out. He throws a ball to Mari Cooper, follows him. Mari Cooper pitches the ball back to him, and he scores a touchdown. You know, it was varsity against JV in a lot of ways for the San Francisco 49ers. And yeah.
Would this stop you from wanting to pay Brock Purdy? Like, he's gonna be up for a contract. People expect him to get paid big bucks. When you see him on the field with another quarterback where he just looks, incapable of doing the things that this guy on the other side does. And again, there's only one Josh Allen in the league, and you have the Mahomes, but he's in a tier with a few different guys that can do some special things, and then you kind of have all the other quarterbacks. But do you look at it and say, well, how do I pay this guy all this money when I know in these type of situations he's always going to be kind of outmanned?
We're gonna have so many podcasts talking about this throughout the offseason with Brock Purdy, being that he's going into the last year of his contract, his rookie contract. And I think my big thing right now is that I just think the NFL salary structure is broken, because there's no way that Brock Purdy should be playing for $900,000 a year right now. But there's also no way that Brock Purdy should be making the same amount that Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes make as a free agent. And I think that both are really fundamentally wrong. And I don't think the 49ers should pay that. I think that's so we saw what Tua made, and Brock Purdy should make $1 more than Tua, probably. Like that would be correct for the agent to ask for that type of money. But I think the 49ers will instantly be behind if they're paying their quarterback the same amount as the quarterback we saw on the other side tonight.
Well, here's the thing. You brought up Tua. He struggles as well in the elements, and obviously he playing in Miami. He doesn't have to deal with it as much, but when we saw him in the postseason last year have to play in the snow, it looked similar to what we saw from the 49ers tonight. I mean, but also with
worse against the Packers on Thursday than Brock looked, because it wasn't really all on Brock. Brock didn't even have that many opportunities to really do much. It wasn't really like, oh, Brock looks awful. There was the ball that flipped out of his hand when he was trying to throw it, which is not a good situation. But it wasn't like, oh man, Brock looks awful in this game. It was just the Niners were just getting beat everywhere. I thought Tua probably looked worse, and I thought but it's
I wouldn't pay Tua. That's the thing. I think when people say, when you look at it, the NFL is the NFL, right? And there's going to be guys that are going to get paid where they're slotted because of what other guys are getting. I would have never paid Tua that amount. So when we're talking about Brock and how he should make more than Tua, he definitely should. I think if you you want Tua or you want Brock, give me Brock. I'll take Brock over him in this offense or with whatever. But I wouldn't pay Tua. You know what I'm saying? Like, so with Brock, I would struggle when I see things like this, where it's clear that there are some limitations. I can't make you one of the highest paid players in the league if there's doubts about playing in certain situations. That would at least make me nervous. Now, if you're Kyle, maybe Kyle's like, well, I'm so good that we'll be able to play around whatever his limitations are. And I'd say that's BS. I don't think Kyle's been able to truly do that in certain situations. Otherwise, 49ers will have multiple Super Bowls right now.
And just real quick here, Ed says short memories. Brock was statistically the best QB in the league last year. Whether that scheme or not is irrelevant. Well, look, there's a lot of statistics that made Jimmy Garoppolo look a lot better as well. And this is not a podcast. This is not a time to bash Brock. We love Brock Purdy, and I think he's a really good quarterback. The 49ers should pay him. But the foundational point of my argument with Brock Purdy and with the NFL salary structures is that Brock Purdy should be paid somewhere in the middle of $900,000 and $60 million. He shouldn't be paid either $900,000 or $60 million. And that's the problem the 49ers are going to run into, because they're probably going to have to pay him $60 million if they want to keep him around. Plenty to talk about with that. And the San Francisco 49ers going forward, season getting close to the end for the 49ers with another loss, now falling behind everybody in the NFC West. And Croc, are there even any game balls to give out for the San Francisco 49ers in the 35-10 loss to the Buffalo Bills in week 13 next? Today's episode of Locked Up 49ers brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Get ready to tackle all the NFL action right now on FanDuel, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. And the FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place all the live bets on the NFL all in one place. You want to bet on the NHL, NBA as well? You can do that. Any sport that is happening, you can find all of that action on FanDuel. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com to join today. And maybe when you're watching Monday Night Football, maybe you're watching your next NFL game, college football game, NBA game, whatever it is, you're in the middle of the game, you want to check out the latest stats, live play-by-play, and so much more. You can find it all on the very same page where you place your bets at FanDuel.com. So download the app or go to FanDuel.com. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And if you want to go catch the San Francisco 49ers or any game or any concert or any comedy show near you, the place to go to find tickets and especially get phenomenal deals on last-minute seats is Game Time and the Game Time app. And Game Time has a new feature now called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And by the way, you got to click on the all-in pricing so you know you get the best price up front. You see the total with no surprise fees at checkout. My favorite feature of Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets right now with Game Time. Concerts, comedy shows, football games, baseball games, basketball games, wherever it is, you can find all those tickets and phenomenal last-minute deals at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Oh, Game Ball, Fireball, California. It's not in the 209. It's not in the 415. I to be honest with you, is it the 559? I'm not sure what Fireball is, but Game Ball for Fireball, California. They raised one Josh Allen. I think he went to like Reedley College or something like that. Ended up at Wyoming. Phenomenal talent, and the Buffalo Bills has them going in the right directions, and potentially we might see Josh Allen in the Super Bowl for the Buffalo Bills. They got to get past the Kansas City Chiefs, which is something that's been very difficult for Josh Allen. It's been very difficult for Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy and a lot of other coaches and quarterbacks in the NFL. But Fireball, California kid, grew up not far from where I grew up. So props to Josh Allen, props to Fireball, California. A lot of 49ers fans, as Josh Allen was once.
You know, you talked about the 559. If I'm not mistaken, I think Fresno used to be 209.
It did. Yeah. There was a little reconfiguration there, and it became the 559. There's too many people. And like, basically what happened was the people in the part of the valley where Fresno and Visalia are, they're like, I don't know. There's this Crocker family up there. They're getting a little wild. I think we want to break off from them. Let's do a 559. We'll let them stay in the 209. Yeah, no, there was 209 down there. It was 209 territory. It was. You're right.
Yeah, irrelevant to the conversation tonight. Now, we are talking about, game balls and having to give game balls out to 49ers players. That's extremely difficult. We have talked a lot about Brock Purdy, and you mentioned this game is not on Brock Purdy. Although we would like to see, can you make it to where you can overcome some of the things? I don't think anybody's able to overcome a lot of the mistakes that the 49ers made tonight. Can't give a game ball to a team that got gashed on the ground the way that they did. You had James having 100 yards rushing in the first half. 49ers did not tackle well. They weren't containing at all. We saw the first run for a touchdown by Davis over the right side. No one contained there. The 49ers gave up a long punt return for a touchdown. Luckily, it got called back for a holding penalty. But, I mean, that just continued the disastrous season that the special teams has been. Deebo Samuel fumbling on the kickoff return, multiple fumbles in this game. 49ers fumbling on the goal line. Kyle Juszczyk, while looking like he's about to run into the end zone. I don't know how we give a game ball to anybody tonight, because although it will fall on the shoulders of the quarterback, everyone had a giant hand in this disastrous of a game.
There's a player on the defensive side of the ball that stood out to me in this game. And I've called him out a lot this season, and he's been really impressive to me. And that's rookie safety Malik Mustafa. And it's just because, and it's not that he was amazing, and it's not that the defense played well enough to get any game balls on that side of the ball. But I think you got to go back to, and like as amazing as Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga and a lot of the current group of 49ers have been under the Shanahan Lynch era, Malik Mustafa, you just feel him during the game. When he arrives and thumps, and like early in the game, he hit Cook. And it was like, I don't know if Cook's been hit like that in the NFL. It's hard to hit that hard in the NFL these days. And it's fun watching Malik Mustafa play. And I think the contrast of Jair Brown, who's not been playing that great lately, and I think he was a big part of at least one of the really big runs, and we've got to go back and watch the tape and know who who's responsible for everything. But at this point, I would be probably more confident going forward saying Malik Mustafa is a long-term piece of the plan, more so than maybe even Jair Brown is, even though Malik Mustafa is the rookie. Just there's something about the way he plays I really enjoy, and it's hard finding really positive things to talk about in this game. And there's not that really, beams of light with the San Francisco 49ers in this game. And I don't even know how many game balls we could potentially give out here. The first game ball I gave out was to a town, I think is a good, good representation of that. But Malik Mustafa, man, I felt him early in the game, and I really like the way he plays.
He had an opportunity in this game to make a really big, I said really big play. The game might have been out of hand at this point, but he broke a pass up on the sideline, and hey, good job breaking the pass up. When I'm talking to my defensive backs, opportunities like that, you have to take advantage of. You got to catch the ball, because if you knock the ball away, terrific job, broke the ball though, cool.
The one where
if
he
they
was
scored the next play.
Was it the play where he went on the sideline and batted it away? Okay.
Yeah. If the team scores the next play or scores on that drive, then your bet down was all for nothing. So if I'm his coach, I just challenge him to, hey, I got to hold you account. I just need you to make that play, like the pick. Yeah. We need to take the ball away. The greats at safety, they're catching that ball. So obviously he did well. I saw him in run support a few times with some really good fits. I saw him throwing his body around. And for a guy that I felt like was doing something a lot of 49ers didn't want to do. Early on, I felt like they were flying around, wanted to hit, but that went away pretty quick as soon as James took off for James Cook took off for that big run. Not a lot of guys wanted to tackle after that, but Mustafa was a guy that continued to throw his body around throughout the game. I got a guy that I want to give a game ball to, Juwan Jennings. There were some times where the 49ers offense was really stagnant and they needed a catch. And Juwan Jennings was a guy that I felt like they were able to go to. And you saw him fighting for yards. I love watching when it's out of hand and you've lost. Do you tuck your tail? Do you mope? Do you get in your feelings? Or do you continue to play hard? And I feel like this is the second time I've said that about Juwan Jennings, but he just continues to play hard regardless of what the circumstances are around him. And for me, that says a lot about the player. Maybe that says a lot about the guys coaching them, whether Leonard Hankinson or whoever it is. But that's a terrific job by Juwan Jennings. And those are the guys that, and I've said a lot about Juwan Jennings before, this offseason. Would you rather have Juwan Jennings or Kendrick Bourne? Oh, give me Kendrick Bourne, right? I've said all that stuff. But I've been so impressed with him this season, stepping up in the way that he has and continuing to fight even when everything is going against his team. So shout out to Juwan Jennings.
Absolutely. I love that one. And he got spiked on the third play of the game. Did you see that? I don't know if it's Debo or Pearsall. One of the other receivers went in motion and stepped right on Juwan Jennings' ankle. Like third play of the game, and you're spiking your own player. They stepped on his ankle, and then he kind of stumbled off the line. I was like, "Oh man, did the Niners just hurt their own guy on the first possession of the game?" And luckily, he wasn't hurt bad, but like someone stepped literally on his foot, on his ankle, while they're in motion on the 49ers offense. I think that was a perfect example of the kind of the way this game is going to go, the way the 49ers season has gone this year. Croc, can you, speaking of 209s and 559s, can you talk to your guy? Greg Pinelli's in the chat, says Jimmy could play in the snow. Just trying to stir it up over here. And Greg knows quarterbacks. He coaches quarterbacks. He knows Josh Allen and has coached Josh Allen, in fact. But he's trying to stir some stuff up here with Brock, bringing up Jimmy G.
He's probably going to call me as soon as we get off this, and he's going to laugh. He likes to. I think he likes to get on Brock's case a little bit because he feels like, the 49ers turned on Jimmy Garoppolo. And I don't think he's wrong with that, but I'd say Brock is better. How much better? I saw Jimmy play in the snow, and I don't think he was better. I think the defense got more stops when they need to get those stops. He had a crazy boneheaded interception in the red zone. But he did make two throws to be exact, a couple throws down the stretch to put the 49ers in field goal range to kick a field goal and win and knock off the Green Bay Packers. So he did do that, but could he play in the snow? He could play. Did he play well in the snow? I think that's
those are the times when Kyle was like calling 6 pass plays in an entire game. So I don't know if I would go that far. Greg, Big Twan, I totally agree with him. Says we're weak on both trenches, on both sides of the ball. That's where the problems begin. That's the offseason to-do list. O-line, D-line for me. Actually, D-line first, O-line second. To be honest with you, I don't know if the O-line was necessarily a big problem in this game. I thought the Niners, there was a few calls that Kyle made with like the shotgun runs, and I think being flat-footed and trying to make a play for the running backs was really tough. I think you had to get going downhill and get moving in a straight line and then get the defensive line moving and just kind of work off that. I think those are the plays that worked in this game. We saw a couple on the first drive with Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason, and then the Niners didn't have a lot of that, but the Bills were able to call those up and get those plays working. I think going downhill, going in a straight line was the way to play it in this game. Niners weren't able to do it. The Bills were, and I know for us, Croc, I'm sure I don't want to speak for you, but I'm not giving any game balls to the coaching staff. Let's go to Tortilla Man. Says, when does Kyle get fired? We always see this after every loss. Kyle needs to go, Mike says. Where are we at with the way the 49ers were coached here? Or do you think there was nothing they were going to be able to do? Because, again, we didn't pick the Niners to be able to win this game.
I think the display that we saw on the field, it has to fall on coaching. I mean, these players, we've seen these guys have a culture of just giving everything they've got. And I talked about 2017, a team that was down and out, losing every game, and how much fight they showed. And they showed 10 times more fight in that season while not winning games than they have over the last few weeks and what it's looked like on this 3-game losing streak. Kyle Shanahan won't be fired. I don't think he should be on a hot seat or anything like that. But it is disappointing to see a Kyle Shanahan coach team go out there and put this display on for the fans. And borderline pathetic, to be honest, to come out there and the players perform with that kind of effort. I'm just not used to seeing it from the 49ers. So it kind of it kind of has caught me off guard really last 2 weeks. That's why I was disappointed with the Green Bay game. I get it. You ain't got your quarterback. Okay. But man, this is a terrible display that's being put on the field. And then to run it back and do the same thing, some of that has to fall on coaching with some of the just execution, lack thereof. If anything, you got certain guys in certain positions that maybe they shouldn't be there. What changes you're going to be making? You can't keep doing the same thing over and over and think like, well, it's going to just be better. Those are the things that I do fall on the shoulders of the coaches.
Yeah, it's really no change for me, and we're not calling for Kyle Shanahan's head. In no way are we saying Kyle Shanahan should be fired, needs to be fired, but we're not saying that he can't be better too. So Kyle Shanahan's time to look in the mirror, figure out your coaching staff. If you think the staff's not right, maybe some brain drain. I think it's a big part of what's happened with the San Francisco 49ers. Get it right, look in the mirror, figure it out. But embarrassing loss for the San Francisco 49ers to the Buffalo Bills season, all but over right now. They could win a whole bunch of games. It's a possibility, but it's not a team that I would expect to do that with what we've seen recently from this football team. More on the 49ers loss at Buffalo, more on the 49ers going forward to week 13 or week 14 and beyond. All the latest on the injuries. We'll have updates for you as we do every single day here on Locked On 49ers. Appreciate all the listeners out there. Love all the everydayers. Welcome to the new listeners. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. Croc and I back tomorrow right here. Locked On 49ers.